the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Submissions. It's like, hey, if you ball out, you might get this job, and Will Howard might not come forward, and it's you're now officially QB1 at USC going into next year. So I don't know. I think it's interesting for what this means for USC going forward in their first year in the Big Ten, but I also think people who are kind of joking, like I saw one tweet by one college football writer who was like questioning the difference between Will Howard and Kyle McCord, and I was like, what are we doing here? Like, this is an obvious upgrade. This isn't. Don't overthink this. Kyle McCord was not good at Ohio State this year. Will Howard has been a good college football quarterback who's won a lot of games and played a lot of good football over the last 2 years. And I don't know. I think this is a huge win, actually, for Ohio State and Ryan Day. I think this is a big time dub for the Buckeyes. What say you, Matt Green?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because that's actually the exact direction I was going to go with it. I've seen a lot of people kind of clowning this, that like, oh, you're going from Kyle McCord to Will Howard, like it's not an upgrade at all. And I was really impressed with, like, he took Kansas State to another level in 2022 when he finally became the guy full time. And I mean, he wasn't amazing last year, or this past year, but like, Kyle McCord was just so average. I mean, he's only been a starter for 1 year. It's like, maybe this guy does improve, but it's when you're at Ohio State, you're given the keys to a Lamborghini. Like, it's just it's not hard. And we've seen guys at Ohio State that haven't even had NFL success that just come in and absolutely ball. So the fact that their offense just felt so average with, the best wide receiver in the country, another potential first round pick, just loaded with weapons. And we're just not used to Ohio State looking like really a Big Ten team. Like, they just look like, a better offense than the rest of the Big Ten for the most part. But it was not what we're used to seeing with how dynamic Ohio State is offensively. I think Will Howard, yeah, like you said, is a definite upgrade. I think he's a better athlete than Kyle McCord too.
No, for sure. And look, man, maybe Kyle McCord is better next year, year 2 in the system. But I also think clearly there was just a lot wrong with the offensive operation at Ohio State. And I think it had to be extremely frustrating for Buckeye fans, because you had Marvin Harrison, you had so many talented receivers there, you had a healthy Stover, you had a healthy Travion Henderson. Like, obviously there were some offensive line issues throughout the year, which kind of limited them a little bit. But like, if you just had even an average Big Ten quarterback, or even average like top 10 to 15 quarterback in the country, who knows where you go this year, because you had so much talent. And the defense was elite. Like, this is a different kind of Ohio State football team where Jim Knowles has done a great job as their defensive coordinator. They had a lot of talent there. Their edges, they were great on the defensive line. It just felt like this year was a gigantic waste for Ohio State, and I feel like they had to make major moves. And I think if you had Will Howard this past year with this group, they could have won the title. Absolutely. They had talent everywhere. And Will Howard being able to distribute to this amount of weapons, I mean, you're kind of annoyed in a way if you're an Ohio State fan, because you're like, man, we should have probably just gone the transfer guy after Stroud was out and not gone the internal route. But I mean, Kyle McCord was a 5-star, and you still kind of bet on him being able to be that guy, but he wasn't. And this is another interesting part of it. They bring in Will Howard before they bring in their new OC, because Brian Hartline was the quote unquote offensive coordinator this year, but he is not going to be the offensive coordinator going into next year. Ryan Day is obviously going to always have a hand in what they do offensively, but they're going to bring in a new offensive mind. And it's interesting that they bring in, I mean, probably just because of timing with the portal and when deadlines are, but like, Howard's now entering the fold. So that's your QB1. So whoever you hire needs to be able to make the most of Will Howard this year, because it's a gigantic year for Ryan Day after losing 3 straight to Michigan. And if Michigan wins the title on Monday night, Matt Green, I mean, the pressure is on Ryan Day, who's won 50 plus games in a very short amount of time and been great at Ohio State, but it's just Michigan winning 3 straight against you, and then they win the national title. It's put up or shut up time, and that's a lot on Will Howard at this point.
No, that's definitely a good call. That's going to add a whole nother dynamic to it. But also, if Will Howard is only a slight upgrade over Kyle McCord, it's like it literally may have only taken a slight upgrade for this Ohio State team to win the national championship. Like, he was clearly the weak link on this team. It was an elite defense. They did have elite playmakers. And it was just, I think you saw in the Michigan, like this team started 11-0. Like, we can talk about the Missouri game if we want. It doesn't really matter. So it's they started 11-0, being as flawed as they were. Just a little bit of an upgrade at quarterback could take this team a long way.
No, I'm very excited to see what it's going to look like, because I think Ohio State is just, the pressure is on for Ohio State going into 2024. But we'll see what ends up happening there and who their OC will be for Will Howard, because it won't be Colin Klein, his OC at Kansas State, because he is now the OC at Texas A&M under Mike Elko in year 1 in College Station. Matt Green, pivoting a little bit. Gut reaction to Geoff Collins to UNC as the new DC. I kind of like this bit by Mac Brown, just ex-head coach who didn't really work out as a head coach in the South, and you're not really sure if they're a good defensive mind, but they're a good name. They'll probably recruit okay. I don't know what to make of this. It can't be worse than Gene Chizik has done at UNC over the last 2 years, but man, I don't know. Like, if you're a UNC fan, do you feel like, hey, the Bandit? Because like UNC was a borderline top 10 team this year again. I mean, Drake May.
Go. Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.